How's it going, guys and gals? My name is Beckett, and welcome back to the second episode of Beckett Reviews. I was gonna try to come up with a very clever name of like critic versus casual watcher reacts, but I caved and I became a basic bitch. And I just thought, let's do what I do with all my other series. Sergeant Beckett does this, so here we are.
Sometimes simplicity is the best thing to go for. And before anyone gets all surprised and shit, yes, I too am back. And don't worry, I'm not going to yell quite as much this time, unless I do. Unless I decide, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna yell. You know what, I don't know. I'm feeling spontaneous this evening. Don't try to pigeonhole me. Hi, I'm Jed. I talk too much.
Yes, hello. I realized I forgot to introduce Jed the last time, so here's Jed, everybody. Welcome back to the channel, Jed. I forgot to introduce him completely last time.
No, it's fine. I'm Jed. Am I Jed? I might not be Jed. I'm having an existential crisis. Maybe I'm not Jed.
It says Jed was here, so another thing. So
that was past tense.
Oh, it was.
Maybe Jed was here, and now Jed's
You're an imposter.
I mean, to be fair, people like from a philosophical point of view, people are watching this after it's been recorded. So, in that very same sense, Jed indeed was
here, yeah,
recording.
Good God.
Yeah, don't mind me getting super philosophical when we're meant to be talking about Star Trek. Oh wait, it's Star Trek. We can talk about philosophical stuff.
So, if those of you who are unfamiliar with this new series I'm doing, we did an episode of this from my perspective last week, on that last week's episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds, as a experimental little video idea that I had, basically because as a casual watcher myself, I tend to I've only seen sort of reviews on YouTube that are very 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 detailed and very like specific, and obviously you kind of need that for a review thing, but like I've always had myself like, even with the people who even with very varying different opinions, looking at the reviews and going, yeah, but I disagree because because of this version, but I'm like, I can't say that because I'm not in the thing with them. So those of you who are new here, this is an attempt to try and quell that need with this. Yeah, very convoluted way of saying that, but oh well. And the one person I thought best to do this with who I thought could give decent answers to my responses and who I know would be more or less available no matter what, is Jed.
Hi. Yeah.
Now I can already now. It didn't take long. I've been watching this episode. And I should also mention, today's episode reaction is for this week's episode, Star Trek Strange New Worlds Season 3, Episode 9. Then I can never actually pronounce the fucking name of it. I tried.
Terrarium, isn't
Thank you, Terrarium. That's like it's one of those names I look at and I'm like but it's Terrarium.
It's one of those names that my son would probably have a bit of trouble with, because my son, he's only 9, bless him. He can't say his R. He says his R's like W sometimes. So yeah.
Fair enough.
So yeah, that would be a fun name for him to try and pronounce.
Now,
I shall get him to try and pronounce it, actually, just so we can see how my son would pronounce that word.
Now, I started this episode, and it didn't take long for me to realize. Okay, I think not everyone likes everything, but I think this is going to be after the last episodes we've had. This is going to be the episode I think a lot of your typical Star Trek fans will have been screaming for. And one of my first things came into mind was, I bet Jed's gonna have enjoyed this one, at least a lot better than the last one.
Yes.
Oh.
I have a lot of thoughts about this.
Oh.
This episode is like
general thoughts first.
Okay. General thoughts. This is a really great fucking episode, and it's an Ortegas episode.
Yes.
I'm not being funny. Like, ever since fucking episode 1, season 1 of Star Trek Strange New Worlds, everybody and their wife was turning around and going, you know what? We want more episodes with Ortegas in it. We want more episodes with Ortegas. and then they were like, oh, do you want an episode with Spock and Spock having girl troubles? Ortegas. Do you want another episode of like Pike being spaced at? Ortegas. Do you want us to spend like 3 episodes talking about like Una being genetically engineered? Ortegas. Do you want a music clip? Ortegas. Do you want a racist Vulcan episode? Ortegas. So they finally caved. They finally caved and they gave us more Ortegas.
Yes.
Finally. So yeah.
Okay.
It's
all right.
So I liked it.
Okay.
But there's always a but. It's brought up a lot of questions about the nature of Star Trek: Strange New Worlds, and I suppose whether Star Trek: Strange New Worlds is actually doing something, whether it's doing anything needful in the world of Star Trek at all.
Okay.
Or whether it's just emptily rehashing what we've had before, and further to that, whether that's actually a bad thing. I will explain all of that as we go, because that's a big heavy that's a big heavy thought. So like we'll put a pin in that, and we'll come back to that big heavy thought when we're done going through Toby's points. Because hit us.
That's again another reason. It's just another thing about this whole video is that, like, again, me watching it through, I thought it was a pretty decent episode. I didn't myself see anything wrong with it. See any well, not anything wrong, but any hiccups per se. And then all of a sudden, and then I'm sat here with you, and you're explaining how like certain themes could be misused in the wrong way and stuff. I'm just like, I never thought of that. So,
it's almost like I did a master's degree on this exact topic. I mean, no, this is what I find interesting. Like, so I would never. I know a lot of people. I know a lot of people like talk about like expertise and stuff, but I would never disparage the opinions of somebody who doesn't want to read into it like I read into it. In fact, and the thing is, like 90% of YouTube critics are people whose entire lives and indeed livelihoods are made up of, I read too much into shit for money. I don't read too much into shit for money. I read too much into shit because I'm a neurodiverse motherfucker who just sits down and reads too much into shit. But like a lot of people do it because they want to read into shit for money. So, you know, but like there's nothing, I think to be honest, the way you watch things is probably more fun.
Yeah. Because actually,
I mean, sitting and getting angry about stuff certainly isn't fun.
So a slight side tangent, actually, on that, because it's actually something that's I had a sort of a Facebook comment chain with that on this sort of topic specifically. I doubt you would have seen it, but I'm gonna ask anyway. Have you seen, Jed, the recent film K-pop Demon Hunters? Have you even heard of it?
I've heard of it. My kids listen to the music. I keep hearing that it's really good. I keep hearing that it's really good and that I should watch it.
Okay. Because I did watch it, and so generally, like more or less, it was an okay film for me. Like the start of it started out well. But there were themes and messages that the film was based on, that as it got deeper into it, it started to bring up a lot more shit for me, and I started to like it less and less. And I made this, and I did a little review of it online and stuff. And what I found interesting was, because I specifically said, like, because for me personally, I deemed it not necessarily a bad movie, but a movie I did not personally enjoy. And apparently, I mean, this is the internet, so I guess I don't know why I expect anything different, but apparently, me not like enjoying it because it caused me mental pain from what it reflected back at me, is not a valid measure to review a movie against. Because I actually put in the last line of it, I watch movies to have fun and be entertained. For the most part, this movie just reflected my own pain back at me. I didn't like that. And apparently, that last sentence there, I've had a few people say, not the exact words, but essentially say, that is not a solid basis to review a critic a movie on.
Okay. So there's a few different ways to unpack that turn of phrase. One, fuck those people. It's a perfectly valid way of reviewing a movie because I'm not being funny, right? Reviewing a movie is just a really posh way of saying I watched a movie and this is what I thought.
Yeah.
You watched that movie and that is what. Like, I'm not being funny. Like, you know, nobody wants to watch something that reminds them of their personal pain, their personal traumas, their personal discomforts, their personal thing. And if you do watch movies primarily to be happy and entertained, watching a movie that reflects your personal pain back at you and reminds you of things that make you feel deeply uncomfortable is not something that you would ever want to do again. Like, I had that experience. Weirdly, I had that experience with Joker. Like, Joker, really, like, phenomenally made film in a lot of respects. But it was the most uncomfortable thing I've ever fucking sat through. Like, I sat there feeling profoundly, and that's the way it wants you to feel. Cool. I don't want to go watch it again.
Yeah.
I didn't want to go watch the second one for the same reason, because I knew it would make me feel that way. So it is absolutely perfectly valid for you to feel however the fuck you feel having watched a movie. Secondly, okay, so unless you're being paid money to deliver an expert critical opinion, okay, there is no such thing as a valid or not valid way to review a movie, okay? Like, if you were being paid to review a movie, then a bit of structural analysis about the plot and this and that and the other, you know, where you would turn around and go, this is a technically competent movie that hits all these beats, you know, that's a different thing than, to be frank, somebody online just going, yeah, I watched this movie, did some stuff that made me feel uncomfortable, wasn't really for me. You know, it's not the same thing. Like even this video series, you know, even this video series, we are not sat here, like, I've got a fucking master's degree, I keep fucking going on about it like an egotistical prick. But, you know, I say that, and I will acknowledge at the same time, just because I have that, it does not make me an expert. It does not mean my opinion holds any more validity. Like, if I come on this video series, people watch this, and I say something that makes you sit there and think, gosh, that guy's an idiot. Cool. By all means. I don't sit here claiming to be like the definitive expert on anything, and nobody does. But by that same token, you know, especially, like, I'm not being funny. If the general tone of your review was, it's a well-made movie, but it does things that make me uncomfortable. Yeah. That's absolutely valid. Yeah. You know, like. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, okay, on a very technical point, it's not like the people making that movie sat down and thought, how do I make Toby cry? How do I make Toby cry? No, that's something I might do if I want to write a script that makes Toby cry. You know? But no, like, generally speaking, you know, it is absolutely true. It is absolutely true that nobody in fucking Hollywood or Netflix or whoever sits down and writes down how to make this one specific random fucking audience member feel sad feels. But at the same time, it's like, that still doesn't make it an invalid way to fucking review it. Oh, we could sit here all night just ragging on these people who are being dicks to you. Or we could talk about Star Trek.
It was a side tangent that I admittedly went into a bit too far. But so yes,
it's all good.
Yeah. So, I've got a feeling this time mine's gonna be a lot. Well, actually, I say that, even yours was still, despite not having any notes, yours was still a lot longer than my one last time. But even still, mine still might be the same one again. It might not be different. But generally speaking, not much to say other than it was an episode that I enjoyed watching. There were some funny parts to it that I did enjoy, and there were some obviously deep parts that I also enjoyed as well. And unless it's like last episode, which for me personally, obviously had heavy comedic elements which I could really pick out easily, and then that. Pretty much the same as most other rather serious episode of Star Trek, I thought was pretty alright. Generally speaking.
Fair.
So now obviously this is where the format of this series now goes a bit skew-iffy, because obviously last time we sort of ran on the roll with it. Obviously I had notes, Jed didn't, so I ran through my notes and Jed made comments where and how. This time it's gonna be a bit more tricky. So I'm gonna start. I'll start with my first point. Let's go with that. I'll start with my first point.
Okay.
And see how that goes. So we obviously already mentioned the obviously the episode focus or Ortegas. So my first point after that is someone that I feel at least I haven't. I think we haven't like touched on or seen at least very recently in Star Trek history, or at least relatively speaking. Wormhole stuff. Also, I know we've had it before, but obviously it's not something we've not really, at least from, again, like I said with the documentary style episode, from my like recent recollection, relatively speaking, it's something that I was like, oh, it's a wormhole again. Okay, that sounds nice. Nice bring back.
Wormhole.
Oh,
See,
dear.
I liked. Oh no! This is good. So I liked the wormhole. I liked the fact that the fact that they talked about it like a theory they didn't understand very much.
Yeah.
Because obviously this is the 23rd century, not the 24th, so they've not seen as many. So by the 24th century, they talk in very concrete terms about, we know these things about wormholes. Wormholes aren't stable. They don't exist.
Yeah.
There aren't any stable wormholes in the entire galaxy. They don't do this. They don't do that. And then, to come back to the 23rd century, the way they're talking about wormholes actually is very appropriate to the era. I really like it. A couple of other things. I love how the effect for the wormhole is simultaneously evocative of the Bajoran wormhole, because obviously that's a wormhole, but also is evocative of the color of the wormhole from Star Trek the Motion Picture that the Enterprise inadvertently zaps itself down.
I do not. I might have to find the picture of that later on, because I watched that film once a while ago. And I don't remember it.
Yes. I mean, to be fair, it's the kind of movie you have to be in the mood for, because I love Star Trek the Motion Picture, but it is not without reason that some people call it Star Trek the Slow Motion Picture.
Well, I mean, I didn't have anything personal against it, but side tangent here. But I only watched it because I had a fight, and I think I've said this with you before, Jed, but I'll say it again for the sake of the video. I had a fight with a friend who was not as into Star Trek as me, but I should add. We were having a fight with a friend over, I can't remember how we got onto it, but we ended up trying to identify different starships. And I was holding up, I think, my Reef Enterprise, I think all that sort of style, and he was holding up his style of one. And I was trying to say that the Refit Enterprise is the A, because I've only seen from when I was younger, I think, Wrath of Khan onwards on a couple of films. So from my very scattered and reshaped together memory, the refit was the A.
Yeah.
I then did research into it, and he was right, because I was like, he was right. It was the fact that it did go to the ones that it was the refit first, and then it went to the A, and I was like, oh shit, I was like, I'm gonna have to rewatch the films and re-educate myself on this shit, aren't I? So that's what got me into watching the original series as well, that's why I watched it.
No, fair.
Like,
to be fair, when I was a kid, the first movies from the TOS movies I watched were the ones with the A. So I didn't realise for a long time, because I didn't get Wrath of Khan until much, much later, I didn't realise that the 1701 had been refit as well, either. So, but then I was lucky. My mum bought me all the movies on VHS, and this is me dating myself. I had video cassettes, everybody. Video cassettes.
I think I was on the tail end of video cassettes. Was it like the big black sort of videotape things you put into the DVD players? I'm like,
yes, that's it. Yes, it's one of the big black. Oh God, I feel like a fuck.
No, yeah, because I remember them. I think what was it? That's what. Because I remember our device being called a video player. So I'm not familiar. So I know there are things called cassette tapes, but I thought that was like an earlier thing. I was just what. So I know what they are. I was on the very tail end of them. Like I only had a few videos, like tape things of that sort of stuff before they then went into DVDs. So.
Not bad. But yeah, so in the motion picture, there is a sequence where the Enterprise goes into warp, and because of a warp instability, they generate a wormhole. Wormhole effect. And it's the same kind of orangey color that this wormhole was, and I just thought it was a really neat little. I just thought that, I don't know if that's deliberate, but I thought it was a neat little touch.
Yeah,
I liked it.
Yeah. Alright. Okay. So with this one, I see. Sorry, as I mentioned earlier, I think it was supposed to have been like by time of the title sequence. I literally wrote down because as I thought. This is where I sort of right in my head. I saw the episode going very classic Star Trek. Very classic Star Trek episode. That's why I saw it going. So my next note becomes literally when like much deeper into the episode. So is there anything before, like in the interim before wormhole thing, and then Erica landing on the actual through the wormhole onto the moon that you had any thoughts on?
Honestly, like my thoughts of like the beginning right up until like the discovery of the other character on the planet. Yeah. You know, it's a very like well put together Star Trek episode, you know, and it's very good to spend this much time with Erica Ortegas. You know, it's very good to sort of. And I like the design of the planet as well. Like, I like the idea of this planet that, you know, this moon that travels in this really weird orbit and goes through the gas giant. That was amazing.
Oh, okay, nice. All right. Yeah. So obviously, as we mentioned the friends, so my next one was I started to, as I was watching as it got like the middle section, I started to sort of like think, is this was actually obviously as the Gorn had obviously tossed Erica the little bit of animal thing and obviously that sort of stuff. And from now I was thinking, okay, is this going to be one of those sort of enemy becomes friend theme sort of episodes? To which obviously it was. Again, anything from you, like, cause obviously my one next one no comes from way later on in the episode. Anything that you've noted or wanted to mention before?
I'm going to take a moment to talk about the stuff going on back on the ship.
Okay.
So some stuff that's sort of been thrown at recent Star Trek is this idea that the people on these ships aren't acting in a very professional manner. That they're acting... so this is a big critique labeled at Discovery, for example, is that, you know, everybody's always being emotional, people aren't being very, you know, professional, you know, people are breaking the hierarchy and stuff. And actually, I thought this was a really good example of the opposite in a lot of ways, where you had, you know, you had Pike, you know, being the captain, like being caring, being like, you know, almost fatherly, but at the same time, very, very much being like, you know, I'm aware of my responsibilities. I'm gonna, you know, I'm gonna talk with my first officer about the responsibilities that we have, the orders that we have to follow. You know, I'm gonna present options, and it was all done very traditional Star Trek style of thing, where, you know, the crews of starships never leave a man behind, so to speak. There's always that thing of, we're gonna miss this rendezvous thing. Well, no, tell them we're gonna be delayed. Tell them this. It was all really nice. And I loved Uhura's character arc.
Okay.
Where you know, you've got this sort of acting on faith thing, and it's just really wonderful material, you know, for this cast. And I love that you have as well that moment of Una flat out going, 4,000 lives versus one life. You know, I don't want to leave Erica behind, but we have to deliver this space vaccine in space.
made me think very much of needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few or the one.
No, absolutely. As well, like really randomly, I love that it was the Constellation, and I love that they name checked Matt Becker. I love the Constellation. No, like genuinely, my favorite Constitution class starship ever is the Constellation. It shouldn't be. It just is.
I keep getting the Constellation mixed up with the fucking Stargazer.
Oh no, so
Before
it's
sale
weird.
fucking
So,
stockings.
so the Constellation
Yeah.
is a Constitution class starship from the original series,
Okay.
and then later you have the Constellation class, which are presumably named after another starship called the Constellation.
Okay.
Where obviously you have the Stargazer as one of the Constellation class.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so I love the fact that they,
Uh-huh.
I love the fact that they name check the Constellation. I love the fact that they name check Matt Decker. You know,
Who's
it's
Matt
just,
Decker again?
yeah, the
Thinking
captain
about-
of the Constellation.
Oh,
He was
is
a
it- oh, is it-
Commodore by the, yeah, he was a Commodore by the time you got to the original series.
Right.
yeah.
Okay.
So he's like a character in that. So yeah.
Yeah. So that's probably another evidence of me. Of the fact that I tried the original series, and didn't finish it. Did not get through
Fair.
it. Okie dokie. So my next note was it was in the the science lab. Obviously when Pike had come along to assess the progress on shut up Uhura's experiment for, I think it was wedging the Enterprise into the wormhole, and obviously I noted down obviously the
Fudging the numbers?
it's like saying it obviously at the time it seemed like an over thing, but saying it back now it seems kind of dumb. It's a very, cause I feel like kind of dumb. It's a very obvious thing to note, but I put down sneaky, changing the data override, and followed by close cool foreshadowing. What's your next note or? Oh.
Oh god, no, I love that moment. I love that moment because that's like one of the small little character interplay things that was obviously going on here. It was like faith versus rationality. Like, you know, rationally, we can't do this. It's really improbable. You know, but Uhura has faith that no, we've got to rescue our friend. Gosh darn it.
Yeah.
You know, which especially for her character makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So, you know, I really liked that moment. Excuse me. So yeah, no, I really liked that moment. I thought it was a really fun little moment, and very in keeping with the tradition of Starfleet crews to sort of be like, we're gonna bend the rules a little bit.
All right. So after that note, obviously, it was my next sort of like little pickup was obviously as I mean, it was a general. Obviously, it's Ortega generally anyway. But obviously, I wrote down. Obviously, it was her focus, so it was a little bit more pushed to the forefront. That just Erica, like I said with Pellier last time, Erica is a gem. she's a gem.
Oh no, like phenomenal character.
Yeah. Then my next one was less of a note, but just more of a quote that I found quite funny. You're growling and me playing charades. I found that quote rather funny.
Oh god, no, there was some fun moments in this. I think Erica's a standout character just because she feels like a very down to earth kind of character. You know, there are a lot of characters in Star Trek who feel very high concept. But like Erica Ortegas, like a lot of people like Erica Ortegas because she just feels like a fucking military veteran. You know, like she feels like somebody that you'd meet in the military. You know, she has that kind of attitude.
I feel like she, like, given how she's written and that sort of stuff as well, like her personality, I feel like she'd mix well with, like, in the because I've thought of it every now and then, like she'd mix well within the Morningstar cat, like the Morningstar crew. And that she's got that sort of like quirky personality that I sort of given my crew. A bit of a structure rejig here. So I've just thought of it as I've just said this. I'm gonna continue going through what my points as I did last time, and then after that and obviously you can comment on what you thought as well, and then after that anything specifically that you had about the episode, or transfer over to you, then you can mention that stuff. I think it might be smoother way. Again, all still very experimental here.
We're still in the experimentation.
Yes,
we're getting there. We're getting there.
So after the whole quote, after that quote, as my next one is, I quite enjoyed the Ortegas playing tabletop games with the Gorn.
Oh yeah, no,
that was both funny and wholesome at the same time.
that was a fucking standout scene. I love that. I absolutely love that.
And then I noted this one down mainly because obviously it was just something I noticed more, not something that like caught me emotionally or anything. Just something I noticed, but obviously the thing. Obviously it was typical of this sort of theme trope, but obviously at this point sort of Erica had sort of grown past her previous trauma and prejudice of the sort of going with this character, and then she was then when she discovered why sort of the Gorn was reluctant to leave the planet, or whatever the moon, whatever it was she wanted again. Ortega was like, no, fuck this, I'm getting you out of here. So I obviously have to try to save the Gorn. My next note, not something like anything big, just an interesting visual that I found quite interesting to see. Pike at the helm and Spock in the captain's seat. That arrangement just was right. I looked at it, I was like, hello. That's
it's interesting. It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because it's like, it's just unusual seeing people in the wrong chairs and stuff. I always like those moments in Star Trek.
Oh yeah, I know.
I like.
Come to think of it, it reminds me of I can't remember what episode it is, but it's one of the episodes of TNG. I think it's actually literally called Booby Trap or something, where they're in that asteroid field, and Picard has to use the helm stump navigates them out of that thing. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So just remind me of that. The next note is just simply a very nicely made, beautiful shot of as the Enterprise entered the wormhole to try and position itself in there and wedge it open. It was I liked that shot. It was very nice. Now, I updated this next note as the episode sort of finished, but it started with obviously at the point where it was. I first thought, so I didn't write it down at the time, but I first thought it sort of as it was getting to the third act sort of thing. Obviously, when obviously Erica was trying to save or get them both off that planet, asteroid, moon thing. I was getting a feeling of if it's following this trope, I feel like in some way, shape, or form, the Gorn's gonna die. It's not gonna make it off the planet. But I wrote it down when I realized it wasn't how it was gonna. I didn't realize how that was gonna happen. My original thought was that maybe the Gorn, they'd get Terrarium off, but the Gorn would stay behind for some reason to help her get away or someone else. I did not. Yeah, but I did not anticipate La'an being that, obviously as they're coming down to get or take it off. I did not anticipate it being La'an was the reason why she wouldn't, that Gorn would not return. I then at the time I read possible future complications, obviously with their friendship. I then read, or maybe not, after the whole interaction at the very end scene where obviously she mentioned that obviously the Gorn was her friend, but obviously La'an is also her friend. So at that point it seemed like she was had made peace with that in some sort of way, maybe. But that's why I'm not too sure, maybe. That's what I thought on there. And I didn't write it down, but I just had another thought before I do finish off my notes. That the interesting life form they introduce in this episode.
This is why you should watch the original series.
I was gonna say I had a feeling it was an episode. I think it might. I was like, this is a thing or something that I don't know.
Okay.
Very.
So.
Very sorry. Actually, no. Do ratings at the end. That's my notes. You go.
Okay. So I didn't bullet point my notes in any chronological order. I
That's
just
fine.
sort of like made a few mental notes because I knew we'd be doing this today.
Mm-hmm.
So broadly speaking, it's a thing of very well put together episode.
Yeah.
You know, great to see more Ortega's content. You know, some wonderful performances from the entire cast. So the thing that sort of earlier we put a pin in this notion of, you know, is Star Trek Strange New Worlds doing anything that we actually need Star Trek to be doing? Is it
Yeah.
or is it rehashing?
Yeah.
And if it's rehashing, is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? So this episode, up until we got to the Gorn, I was like, okay, this is fairly standard, like, character marooned on planet Fair, you know, not super derivative, but also not like super not super derivative, but not super like original either.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the Gorn showed up, and from that point on, it's basically a combination of the TNG season 3 episode "The Enemy," and then it turns later into like the ending from the TOS episode "Arena," quite literally. And I just sort of sat there and I started thinking to myself, okay, so one, this is literally just The Enemy. Like, they're doing more with it than The Enemy did. You know, these characters are becoming friends instead of, you know, just working together to save each other's lives. But this is just that one episode where Geordi ends up on a deserted planet with a Romulan. You know?
Okay.
And it's like, which is not to say it's not well made. But like a big criticism that people sort of lump at Strange New Worlds is that it's basically just rehashing Next Gen. You know, it's doing all the same shit that Next Gen was doing. And episodes like this, as brilliant as they are, as well put together as they are, part of me can't help but sit here and think, yeah, but this is just a Next Gen episode.
Okay.
If this is just a Next Gen episode rejigged for the modern era.
Okay.
And I sort of had to sit here and honestly think to myself, is that a bad thing necessarily? Because obviously, like, not everybody will have sat and watched Next Gen. Not everybody will have like spent years of their lives watching Next Gen episodes. You know? So, like, if this is doing something that, yeah, we as fans have seen it a million times before, but maybe the supposed new audience might not have. So is it a bad thing? Is it a bad thing that it's doing that? You know, it's very interesting because realistically, I, as a Star Trek fan who likes Star Trek to have Star Trek things in it, having an episode that is just a very competently executed version of a previous premise. Like, some people get pissed off about that stuff because they're like, oh, we've seen it all before. I look at that and I'm like, no, this is somebody very competently executing a Star Trek premise. Thank you. You know? Now, that being said, I was a bit ticked off by the Metron showing up. Actually, I was a bit majorly ticked off by the Metron showing up. And there's a couple of reasons.
Do you like quickly interject? Very quickly interject here. For those like me who, for whatever reason, didn't watch the original series and who are and I may be not aware, who are the Metrons?
So,
if you may.
in the original series episode, I think it's from season 1, called Arena.
Okay.
We were introduced to the Gorn.
The Gorn. Okay.
And the Metrons. So
okay.
in that episode, the Gorn destroy a colony. Captain Kirk chases them down, and then they end up in a solar system that belongs to the Metrons, who are this omnipotent alien race. And the Metrons force Captain Kirk and the captain of the Gorn to fight to the death. And then Captain Kirk. This is the one with the big lizard suit, basically.
I've seen clips and pictures from it. Yeah.
So Captain Kirk fights the Gorn. Captain Kirk spares the Gorn's life after defeating it. Yeah. And then the Metron shows up and goes, "Oh, I guess you are a moral species after all. Snooty, silver makeup, snooty. And then says, you know, in a few centuries we might decide we want to talk to you after all. Ha ha, snooty, ha ha." And then fucks off back to its realm and sends Captain Kirk and the Gorn back to their ships. And I was a bit sat there looking at the Metron, thinking to myself, Okay, dude, why the fuck are you here? Okay, one, why the fuck are the Metrons here? Because this doesn't seem to be the same. Like, unless I haven't I haven't rewatched the episode in years, but unless this is secretly the same fucking solar system and they've made some really subtle reference to it being the same fucking solar system, why the fuck are those guys here? Two, recasting Arena as a thing where the Metrons, instead of just being an aggrieved bunch of omnipotent godlike pricks living in their own solar system who decide to teach Captain Kirk a naughty lesson, and to teach Captain Kirk and the Gorn Captain a lesson for being naughty and having a war in their backyard. No, instead, they're spying on the Gorn and the Federation. Okay, so they've just been upgraded from random pricks of the episode to major pricks of the era. Because, like, okay, you want to fucking lecture Captain Kirk on morality, you fucking shiny bellends, then maybe don't treat living sentient beings as fucking playthings. You douche nozzle. No, But also, like it felt as well.
Yeah.
Like from an out of universe perspective.
Yeah.
Putting the Metrons in there, and then having the Metrons, like, even that little comment the Metron makes about saying, "Oh, we may have to adjust your perception of the Gorn," meaning, I'm assuming, Starfleet's perception of the Gorn, meaning that's the Metrons explaining why nobody remembers who the fucking Gorn are in Arena. You know, like, okay, okay. So is that what you're doing? Are you explaining why the fuck we don't know what the fuck is going on? That's the most random bullshit throwaway line ever. And it also makes the Metrons look even more like a bunch of bald bellends. You shiny pricks. Yeah, hello, we're the Metrons. We're gonna just randomly change the face of galactic geopolitics by making the Federation completely fucking forget an entire alien fucking race and an entire alien fucking empire that just exists because we're the Metrons and we're shiny fucks. Look at how shiny we are. We're gonna show up with silver face paint and an echo effect on our voices in a few years your time and 60 years in the past the viewers' time. Look at us. Woo! The Metrons. Yes, that's just, fuck those guys. Fuck those guys. Fuck the Metrons. They're a bunch of fucking shitheads.
Anything else you wanted to add? Episode or Metron specifically?
I mean, it's a good episode. Don't get me wrong. I really like the episode.
Okay. No.
You know, at the same time, I acknowledge that the reasons I really like the episode are it's like comfort food for me. Like
okay.
Oh, cool. I'm sat and I'm watching basically a Star Trek: The Next Generation episode, but with this cast.
Okay.
And, you know, people are very disparaging about that. Which I think, you know, the reason Star Trek: The Next Generation worked is, broadly speaking, people like the kind of television where they can sit down and watch 15 episodes of basically the same sort of stories with a bunch of people they can get to know. People find that comforting. That's a thing that people like, you know. So I think there's something to be said for a Star Trek series that's doing that, especially one set on the Enterprise. And I think a lot of the backlash that Strange New Worlds receives for the experimental episodes that it has is because people want it to, like, there's one subset of people that can't stand the fact that Strange New Worlds exists because it's too nostalgic. It's too much like old Star Trek, you know? And these people very rightly point out that, you know, you can't live in nostalgia forever, you can't do this thing forever, you can't do that thing forever. Then they're very right to point that out. And there's some people, conversely, who turn around and hate on all the episodes of Strange New Worlds that are experimental and trying to do new things, because they are like, no, we want episodic Captain Pike series, just like Star Trek was when we were children. And this is not that. This is weird and experimental. You know, and I sort of sit somewhere in the middle of, I think it's very important for Star Trek to have a series like Strange New Worlds. I think something like Strange New Worlds, episodic, set on the Enterprise or an Enterprise, you know, telling stories of the crew going to random different places every fucking episode.
Mm.
You know, but also like, I think it's very important for that to exist because that is effectively core Star Trek. That is like the people who make Star Trek demonstrating, yes, we know what Star Trek is. We know how to make Star Trek. You know, I think the fact that it took them a few years to get a series out that was doing that probably didn't work very well for them. You know, that's why Discovery had a bumpy start and Picard had a bumpy start, because you need the foundation of, yes, viewership. We know how to make a Star Trek.
Okay.
We can do a Star Trek series. Conversely, I think in the modern day and age especially, you need like 4 or 5 different Star Treks to exist, and you need to be doing radically different things with other ones to offset and to counterbalance the existence of fun episodic Star Trek. Like, even in classic, like in the Rick Berman era, you had DS9 come in at the arse end of Next Gen to do radically different things, you know, to have a different vibe, a different aesthetic, to tell different kinds of stories, like the more serialized kind of stories. Cool. And that worked really well to offset the fact that for all that Star Trek Voyager was a different premise than Star Trek The Next Generation, it was still, here's 24 episodes of a spaceship in space going to different planets in space. You know, like Star Trek needs that, but it needs to do other things on top of that as well, in my opinion. And you know, I think Strange New Worlds existing as like the flagship, we are the show where ships go places, is a really solid foundation to build other shows off of. And I'm curious, like I really hope that after Strange New Worlds ends, that there's a new episodic series, like whether that be Legacy or whether that be this supposed Star Trek Year One that they're talking about.
Oh yeah.
That we get like a solid series, actually like doing that, actually like telling those same sorts of stories. I think you need that. It's why the Orville was successful. You know, it's why people liked the Orville, because people who watch Star Trek because Star Trek, broadly speaking, does Star Trek things. That sounds like a really reductive way of explaining that, but that's really the level to which some people's brains kind of work. Not disparagingly, you know, because this is entertainment. This is entertainment that connects for a lot of people on a nostalgia level. The Orville, as much as a lot of it was full of Seth MacFarlane-isms to begin with, is an episodic space adventure series where a bunch of people work together, have the occasional personality conflict, but in the end, come together in order to tell cool stories about working together and friendliness and stuff. And Star Trek wasn't doing that at the time. You know, Star Trek realized its mistake and started wanting to do that more, but, you know, it took them until Strange New Worlds to really nail that formula. And I think Discovery, like for me, Discovery never nailed... Discovery as a flagship series never nailed that, because even when you had the last 2 series where they finally were like, all right, fine, Burnham is the captain now. Are you happy, you dickheads? You know, even when we got to that point, you know, it was still like, every season is one big story about how the entire galaxy is doomed. The entire universe is doomed. Everything is doomed. Your face is doomed. You know, that was Discovery's entire shtick, and people kind of got sick of that. But no, Strange New Worlds is, like, to sort of sum up a very rambly point.
Oh, that's fine.
Strange New Worlds is a core Star Trek show. It does stuff that core Star Trek needs to do in order for the people making it to demonstrate that they know how to fucking make Star Trek. And it's important for Star Trek to keep doing that, in my opinion. But it's also very important that not be all that Star Trek can do. And I think you can have shows like Picard, you can even have shows like Picard Season 1, you know, but you can't have them if you don't have something like Strange New Worlds, you know. Okay. Although there's an entire separate conversation I could have about why, in general, you can have Picard Season 1, but Picard Season 1 with Picard the character was a shit idea. But I'm not going to get into that, because that's an entirely separate video. So, yeah.
Alright, so before we go onto the rank stuff, like, you know, there's a few things small little notes, but it's I like talking about them, and you brought them up, so it gives me a chance to talk about them. So the first point is, as you mentioned, DS9 and that sort of stuff. I remember I posted the video on TikTok a while ago. I mean, if I can find it, I'll post it here. But if not, what I'm going to say here anyway.
I love Star Trek, but this show sucks. They broke Gene Roddenberry's rules for Star Trek.
The whole idea of Star Trek is the idea that they would be exploring new worlds and going where no man has gone before.
Not bumming around a space station talking about their feelings.
It's more like a Star Trek soap opera, as the space station turns. Really kind of mediocre at best.
Just watch, say, the second half of the second season and search online for the 5 to 10 best episodes.
Anything else is losing precious time you could use for something more pleasant, like breaking each bone in your hand with a rusted hammer.
That's funny, isn't it? Don't know about you lot, but to me, it sounds pretty similar to what everyone says about shows like Discovery or Picard, and basically a lot of new Star Trek. Because I made this TikTok video after I watched the documentary What We Left Behind, and they opened. I think it was like they opened with each cast member reading like fan letters of like initial thoughts from when the series started, and I couldn't help but laugh a little bit because what the comments they were reading out was the exact same shit that pretty much a lot of what new Star Trek gets. The exact same stuff. I was like, ha! How interesting! Oh?
It is 1987. I am reading comments from angry Star Trek fans about how the latest Star Trek series is not true Star Trek and is a betrayal of Gene Roddenberry's vision. It is 1993. I am reading comments from Star Trek fans about how the new Star Trek series is not real Star Trek and a betrayal of Gene Roddenberry's vision. It is 2001. I am reading comments about how the new Star Trek series is not true Star Trek and a betrayal of Gene Roddenberry's vision. It is 2017, and I am reading comments about how the new Star Trek series is not true Star Trek and is a betrayal of Gene Roddenberry's vision. It is 2025, and I am reading comments about how the new live-action Star Trek series is a betrayal of Gene Roddenberry's vision and not true Star Trek. It is 2063, the actual Vulcans have fucking landed. I am reading comments about how the new Star Trek series is not true Star Trek and a betrayal of Gene Roddenberry's vision.
You see my point then.
It is the heat death of the universe. We are still reading. So this is the thing that older Star Trek fans who like Star Trek will talk about all the time, which is a lot of fans just don't like new shit.
Yeah.
And you know what? I don't like new shit. I'm set in my ways. I don't like new things half the time. But you know what I also know? What I also know is either I will get muted in my dislike to the point of not talking about it anymore. So like I don't like the Kelvin movies. I just don't talk about them anymore.
Fair enough.
Or I will mellow and I'll go back and I'll be like, right, fuck it, I'll watch this thing on its own merits and see if I fucking still hate it. Yeah. Oh, I like that bit, and I like that bit, and I like that bit, and I like that bit. So like I'm like that with the first 2 seasons of Discovery. Like broadly speaking, I don't like a lot of them. But Gabriel Lorca is my favorite Star Trek captain, for example. Or there's some really fun moments with that first season and that first crew. Or Pike is profoundly the best thing about Star Trek Discovery season 2 by a country fucking mile. So but yeah, no. The comments will never change.
Yeah.
You and I will be here in 11 years for the in 11 years for the 70th anniversary of Star Trek. They'll have just announced the new Star Trek live action series.
Yeah.
And you and I will be sat here and we'll be like, yep, the comments are saying it's the worst thing to ever happen and a betrayal of Gene Roddenberry's vision. Oh boy, that's assuming, of course, that the AI overlords who've taken over the planet by then decide to cull the entire human race.
And the second point I wanted to make is it's again nothing one that needs to be said here, but you mentioned it, and I want to say it because it's a rant more than anything, and I hate it so much. Like, okay, people, as I've been trying to learn recently, people have the right to their own opinions. But one opinion that does grind me a little bit. I know that you think Orville is more like Star Trek than Star Trek is. But when you're talking about things or ranking your favorite Star Trek series, that does not give you the right to include Orville in that fucking list. It is not Star Trek. Ah, sorry.
No, that's absolutely fair. And the thing is, like, Orville is obviously trying to be Star Trek. Good for it. Orville actually is also doing a lot of things that Star Trek doesn't necessarily do. There's a lot of conversations about. So, like the whole thing with the Mocklans, for example. The whole Mocklan arc that they have over the 3 seasons is very much an exercise in, okay, how much are we willing to tolerate a collection of fucking lunatics being our allies for the sake of our own convenience, which is very topical. In this day and age, when we in the UK are, constantly allied with a bunch of lunatics who are totally not forcing us to accept atrocities. Honest, Gav. Yeah, let's not get into real world politics. I'm so sorry.
That's fine.
But no. So, like, genuinely though, it's one of those things of like, it does a disservice to Star Trek and it does a disservice to the Orville. Although, that being said, I would fucking love Seth MacFarlane. On the strength of the Orville, I would fucking love somebody to turn to Seth MacFarlane and go, do you just want to make Star Trek for us?
Oh yeah, like him being part of a Star Trek project. That I don't have a problem with that. Like that'd be fine. It does just grind my gears when people like say Orville was the best Star Trek. I'm like, I get where you're coming from, but it's not.
As well as that, it's not like the best Star Trek is clearly Star Trek Lower Decks. Lower Decks is the best Star Trek series. I'll take you on one-on-one or all in a bunch, you neckbeardy fuck. Come at me.
Anyway, rant over. Moving swiftly on to the ranking. So I mentioned this actually in the last episode that given the downs I gave it not happening, it would have been this rank like the documentary style episode was. I ranked this an 8. Like nothing particularly stood out to me to really draw me into it, but it was a decent-ish episode, and yeah, pretty much. It wasn't like
I liked it.
Yeah, I liked it. It wasn't anything too extravagant. It wasn't anything. It wasn't like shit. Not that I find a lot of things shit these days. But yeah, it was pretty decent. It was pretty enjoyable. What do you rank this week's episode, Brother Jed?
Realistically, 8 out of 10 myself as well.
Oh, fair enough.
Like structurally sound. All of my complaints about it are really just, questions about whether it's rehashing material. We get more Ortegas, we get some wonderful character performances, everyth's on point. Solid. It's a solid fucking episode.
Okay. Now, given as, I don't know how much either of us, or I'm not read much into it, or how much you've read into it, but given, that this is the penultimate episode of Season 3, do you have any idea, so it's okay if you don't, I mean, you probably do, but even if you don't, because this is a bit of a jumping on your sort of thing, is there any sort of themes or any ideas that you think might be, or what do you think might happen for them to wrap up this season with? What do you think? Or either if you have any, what you might think, what would you like to see happen?
I don't know.
Oh.
I think that the thing that they're going to do is they're going to wrap up that thing that killed the nurse boy a few episodes ago. They're gonna wrap up the sort of loose threads.
I think his name is
tied to
Gabble. Gable, I think.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
They're gonna wrap up the thing that killed Nurse Boy a few episodes ago.
Okay.
Because that's something that's still hinted to be in the computer.
Oh, okay. Oh, yes, I remember that. Yes.
They're gonna deal with that a bit. If they choose to wrap that up, they're going to probably kill Battelle.
Okay.
I feel like the thing is that there's a lot of things that they have to do in the next 2 seasons to wrap up this team.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And realistically, they're actually going to do most of the wrapping up in the 6 episodes of season 5.
Yeah.
But they have to start killing some of these ancillary characters or writing them out.
Yeah.
You know, there has to be a reason why La'an Noonien Singh isn't around on the Enterprise by the time you get to Kirk being in command. She's probably going to die. You know. There's got to be a reason Erica Ortegas isn't on the Enterprise. She's probably going to die.
Yeah.
You know, the rest of these people are on the Enterprise. Mbenga is on the Enterprise. Chapel is on the Enterprise. You know, Uhura is on the Enterprise. Number 1 isn't, but then when Pike gets promoted, she might get promoted too.
Okay.
You know, so I think Battelle is going to die.
Okay.
I think they're going to do some sort of heroic sacrifice thing where Battelle, before she goes off to take her job, is her new job is like, I'm going to stop this evil thing. No, don't die, please. It's so tragic. She's dead. That's
okay. Okay. Interesting.
I mean, either that or we'll go into another cliffhanger ending for the season, which part of me hopes we don't. But yeah, I think that's probably what's going to happen.
It's not.
What about you?
I don't. God, fucking. I only asked you that because I knew that you might, knowing what you take from episodes, you might have some sort of because you fucking remember the Nurse Boy and the fucking computer that was the virus of the computer.
Yeah.
I forgot that entirely. so my ability to take anything from the season and make a guess is
I mean, really, the one thing that we should take away is it'd be really nice if we had an opportunity for Roger Corby to get whacked in the face.
Yeah, I can. Different reasons for the new though, but yes, I can understand that.
But yeah. So I don't know. I guess we'll find out.
Yes.
Though. It's a week away.
Yeah.
We'll find out. We'll find. And either we'll be sat here going, "Wow, that was so great," or we'll be sat here listening to me scream into the fucking camera about how Star Trek is dead. They've ruined it. Those fucks.
And
I will grow my beard to nerdrotic levels, just to sound like the perfect angry white man YouTube reviewer for the occasion. How about that?
I was actually gonna mention. Was mentioning something about about something you mentioned about when you were talking about general YouTube reviewers earlier on. And because I was gonna mention, I actually forgot, but because I wanted to there was one as a similar sort of that it's also I think a ginger bearded sort of guy like human stuff.
Dave, you're talking about Dave Cullen.
I think I am, yes, Irish as well, or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah. I remember I watched his stuff for the longest time, and of course he obviously does he's a very critical reviewer type of guy, so obviously everything he did infuriated me. And so, which is why eventually I actually managed, and it actually has made me apart from other things, made me on that side a lot happier. I unsubscribed from him. I was like, let's just. I mean, I know it's I think I interact with because I don't have many people to talk about this shit with, but let's just stop watching him because I don't agree with him, and it is infuriating me.
No, so. It's actually very relieving that you said you would disagree with him on a lot of things. No, so for me.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Without wishing to spend time on your YouTube channel dissing other people's YouTube channels, I'm very leery of a lot of reviewers online because Dave Cullen, he's a very eloquent man.
Yeah.
Obviously very well spoken. But he's one of the anti-woke crowd. He doesn't
Okay.
like stuff that he thinks is woke. He's not as
yeah.
arsey. He's not as like openly arsey about it as people like the Critical Drinker.
Yes,
or,
I've heard of him. I've heard of him. Yeah.
Or Nerdrotic, but that's
Yeah.
the same sort of crowd, right?
Yeah.
And to a certain extent, these are people who are like, they get attention from it. You know, they get a grift out of it because people want to hear that modern Star Trek is shit. You know, and if they also hear that modern Star Trek is shit because of all this horrible wokeness coming into it, then they'll keep lapping it up, and it's not fun. But you know, for the record, modern Star Trek is not shit universally, and if it was shit universally, it would not be because of any perceived wokeness. Because a lot of the time, it's not even that woke anymore. It's sort of scaled back on the stuff that it was doing that was really progressive, which is kind of sad. Which is, you know, so you know, I think on that topic, a lot of people sort of forget. A lot of people sort of go, "Oh, Star Trek wasn't like this in the '60s," and I'm like, "Bitch, in the '60s, there were entire states in America that flat out refused to show the original series because it dared to have a black woman existing."
Yeah.
You know, so
That's
you know,
also-
don't turn around and say to fucking me, "Oh yeah, no, it would never have had this in the '60s." No, in the '60s though,
I say that all the time.
Pricks with your very same tone were being shitheads about this. So you know what? Yes, let's have the gay people and the black people and the people of color and the flipping everything else. Let's have that. Because absolutely, part of Star Trek's fucking remit should be to piss off bigots. You can put that on my gravestone.
I say it all the time whenever I'm in some conversations. I say it all the time. Like, the only yes, obviously, like these things are being more shown, and they weren't shown like this in original series days. But it's because societal norms have changed, and network boundaries aren't as strict as they used to be. Back in the day, back in the day, they had to hide things like racism within subtextual messaging about other races to get people to get them TV even fucking shown. But now, obviously, things have changed, and they're allowed to networks actually get the big bucks for actually showing that shit nowadays. Not for the best reasons, but obviously it's more allowed to be shown.
Yes, no, absolutely, and it's I think you know. I think there are questions to be asked about the quality of the writing of recent Star Trek.
Fair enough, yeah.
But there are no questions to be asked about the level of representation, because it is absolutely in keeping. It is absolutely in keeping with the best traditions of Star Trek. So yeah.
Like, I'm not.
Anyway, I'm gonna get off my soapbox about that.
So for the final time, I'm going to wrap this video up here. For the final time. Because I've been saying the final time, but I'm not even actually happened yet. I'm going to wrap this.
It's because you let me talk. It's because you let me talk. He's going to wrap this up. He's going to wrap this up.
No, I am. I must like this. I'm not compared to the first episode. I enjoyed this one quite a lot more. For the sake, I mean, obviously there was still like there was still quite a lot of stuff, but it was actually a lot more versed. There was a lot more different topics. And I also felt, I also felt that the mass. I mean, as honest as it was, I did feel the massive section in the middle about the whole Vulcan racism, the jiggy thing, put a bit of a downer on that one a little bit.
No, it's a big topic.
Either way, there was, good episode either way. Experimentation going well, and so that was all we have time for in this video, guys. As per the last time, I shall put any of Jed's stuff in the description below. So Jed was here, man at desk, off fourth wall. Anything else I can think of? I'll stuff down there. Go over to his channel, check out some of all his audio stuff, and go check out my Morning Star playlist in my channel. just to see what, as I said, give you a little view of, see what we're doing together, and what we've been doing. If you had any thoughts on this episode that you thought about and you agreed or disagreed with us on, please, not that I get the comments on these videos, but either way, let me know in the comments below. Did you agree with us? Did you not agree with us? Or do you have thoughts and completely that had no relation to it at all? And as per usual, like I said last time, do believe the Terrarium rules apply. Keep it civil. Keep it decent, nice, and any sort of nastiness or anything else or battering on people's views will be removed. Consider liking, consider subscribing to my channel, and consider subscribing again to all Jed's stuff. For myself personally, in my link, also in the description will be links to my link tree. You can siphon through that. I still need to fucking look at that at some point. It'll happen eventually. Don't know when. There'll be other links to other places as well, scattered around somewhere. It's all a bit messy at the moment. But thank you again so much for watching. Thank you, Jed, as per usual, for being here with me today. And I shall see you all in the next video, and I shall hopefully see you next week for the season finale. Thank you again so much for watching. I shall see you in the next one. Adios.